let's there we go. Right. Right, it's posting that we're live in the Discord, and then we can get going. Right. Let's go in there. One's going here. Well, that's good. Let's get chat open. Right. Welcome everyone. How you doing? Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a good day so far. What we're working on today? Well, I guess let's quickly recap what we did yesterday. So last night we added HDR support to the engine, so now we render out to a HDR target. Sorry, we was already rendering out to a HDR target, but when we output it to the screen, if you know we've set up the swap chain such that it can see if the screen it supports HDR, then it will load the it will accept the PQ ST2048 format, and we basically just output that. So now we've got like HDR support, and it won't really come through on screen. On stream it's coming out of very very bright, but for me this looks orange here, because I can see more of a range, right? Because on stream it clamps it. So what we're working on today is adding DCI-P3 support. So effectively what we want to do, since we're using HDR, most displays in HDR basically fully support the DCI-P3 color space, right? You output in the Rec 2020 space, but let's do this one. Why is Google Images so bad these days? Computers. I remember when I was a child, we used to be able to click on it and it would view it full screen. It was amazing. Maybe, okay, this one was good. It's not always good. Yeah, so standard color space is sRGB. So it's this smaller triangle, but DCI P3 is this black one here, yeah. Now this is not really a good one, but Rec 2020 goes all the way up here. So Rec 2020 is a much larger color space than DCI P3. But that's where you output in, but the display only actually renders up to DCI P3 anyway. So the way you can think about it is like, I guess this is maybe a barycentric like coordinate. Maybe it is barycentric, but when you've got the green channel going up, you'll go this way. And blue is here. And obviously if you have green and blue going, you have some in between maybe. No, probably not. Because you can have red, green, and blue, so where would that go? Yeah, I guess it'll go back to white again in the middle. Yeah. It would probably be like a barycentric coordinate, if you will. So, hey Geeko. Afternoon here, but yeah, good evening to you, sir. How are you? How's things been? Man, I was so tired this morning. I was just like driving in the car, just going to the shop. So tired. I got the Pepsi today. The first Pepsi of the week. So yeah, so this will mean basically we can output like a wider range of colors and fully leverage a HDR display, which will be cool. Since people have HDR displays anyway, we might as well leverage it. And that means if someone's running on an older sort of sRGB only screen, well, we'll just clamp the colors down and it just might not look as good, right? They'll, rather than getting this green over here, they'll just get the older green, right? Just be clamped to the nearest point on the triangle, basically. So there's some extra reds as well and extra greens, not so much extra blues. Right. So what we're going to need to do is, so any single time we bring in sRGB content into the engine, right? Maybe you got that from like a PNG file or something like that. It needs to be converted from Rec 709, which is sRGB. Sorry. It's kind of sRGB, but it's like linear RGB. That's right. And it needs to be converted from that to DCI-P3. And then we just basically multiply colors as we usually do, but it's just in a different color space, right? So one problem is when using DCI-P3 is you need a wider range. You need to make sure you've got a good enough amount of bits in your yeah. So all those variables which hold the color needs to have enough bits basically, because what you can imagine is, you used to have a classical what was it? Oh, I've got to do this again, haven't I? Damn it, Windows. So, classically an 888 sRGB, right? You would kind of store that in like a U32, right? Right, 8 bits for each channel. Ta-da! But since we're doing a wider color gamut, you would probably want like that same resolution. You can even you imagine like 200. It's not how this works. But imagine if it was like yeah. Imagine from this white point there was 255 steps going from here to here. Well, now if you go all the way up to here, you've got 255 steps going up to there. The amount of colors you'll land on is a lot less, isn't it? So when we store colors into that are in this sort of packed format, we definitely need a different one, like an 11, 11, 10. So 11 red, 11 green, and 10 on the blue. And that means that the extra we'll have more precision, far more precision than we had before on 888 for sRGB. But yeah, and it all packs into a single. Well, let's just be this U32, right? So that'll be cool. So I think what we'll just start on first is just make this sort of packed color type. And I don't know if we want to keep the other one. Yeah, I think we want to get rid of the other ones. The colors are probably always going to be 11, 11, 10 maybe, because they'll be in DCI-P3 space. And we never deal with Rec 709 unless we're just sending it out to the final sRGB target on displays that don't support HDR. But what about alpha? That's a good point. So for UI, alpha is probably helpful, isn't it? So my UI library, when we do our sort of color 32 things, well, alpha is useful because we've got alpha blending. Bwom, bwom, bwom. So we could hey ultra scientism. How you doing? Welcome back. Yeah, there. Go to the Sunday VOD. I recommend watching that one. It's got a whole presentation. It's made for you guys. Specifically, I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it, so I'll be there for around 2 weeks. So it's you got a fear of missing out factor to it now. But yeah, I'll probably do some more sort of like a more of a as we get more of the project in a certain space, I'll do some more videos that go on YouTube and stuff like that. But for now, um, that's just the one which will be here temporarily. Awesome. Nice. I'm doing quite well. Back to my work on GPU to NVMe thing. Oh yeah, nice. Found some NVIDIA engineer added a patch to Linux. Does something I need. Last merge window. Wow. The timing on that one. That's interesting. Yeah, it would be pretty cool, right? Just going straight from NVMe to GPU. Like, how are you thinking about exposing that to something like Vulkan or something like that? How are you? How would it get exposed? Is it via an extension? I'm a bit curious what Christian-based games involves. Is it covered in the VOD? About all that comes to mind is Super Mario Nose. Yeah, so the thing is, I don't really know the history of too much Christian games because, yeah, we grow up quite secular, right? But but yeah, obviously, I think the biggest problem is I want to try and avoid babyfying things a bit. You know, I think, and I think, yeah, I think the Christian space for quite a lot of it has done, um, quite a lot of the stories like the gospel and stuff like this has been covered an awful lot, and people know it. So just doing that again is probably not going to be good, but I'm not gonna completely put that idea to the side because it's obviously the most important story. It's the first step in a Christian's walk is accepting Jesus, and it's the most important step. If not, doesn't end out too well. But also as well, there's a big space for Christians going past just the entry, um, you know, and growing in their faith and believing in what's written in the Bible and stuff like this. Yeah, I don't know at the moment. Put it that way. I need to do lots of more praying and just putting ideas out and just going with what the Spirit leads me for, basically. But um, yeah. So in the meantime, I was building tooling at the moment, just to. But yeah, I've had some ideas, but unsure because part of me feels like I still need to include some way of pointing to someone to the gospel, right, in there, but not necessarily having it in there, but at least pointing someone in the way. Because ideally, you don't want to just target towards Christians, but you kind of do as well. Or maybe just Christian only audience is fine. I'm not sure. These are all things to pray about and figure out, right? Basically. It'd be hard since it's kind of dependent on the file system, and it makes the driver now think about all different file systems and PCI topo topology of the host. Right, right. Are you doing topology? Was that? It's complicated. Better for servers or controller hardware like consoles, right? I see. The Terry Davis stuff, eh? Yeah, revolves around everything in Holy See, exactly. Um, nah, Terry Davis he struggled a lot, you know. He seems like he was very tormented. Based on my understanding now, as a Christian, seems like he was attacked by the devil a whole lot. And yeah, I hope he was saved. I'm not sure. I don't remember looking at him too much, to be honest. Oh, I thought he had some good ideas technically. Obviously he had some very big issues he was suffering with though. Poor man. That's what happens sometimes, you know, you if you give your life to Christ, the devil will attack you. But you know, by standing firm on Christ, keeping your eyes on Christ, you know, as Jesus says, you know, um, like Moses in the Exodus, when I think it's in Numbers, whatever, he held up the snake, and all the Jews who looked to Moses holding the snake would not be poisoned by the snakes who are coming to bite them. The same thing is for Jesus, right? Keep your eyes on Jesus and focused on Jesus, and the devil won't touch you, basically. Hey, Trinidad Hype, welcome, sir. Welcome back. How are you doing? It's definitely been one of those past. Oh, it's definitely been in the past with certain media like Chronicles of Narnia, appealing to the mass audience with Christian themes. Right, right. Yes, yes, yeah, it's a good point. Yeah, that's the thing. Is like, do you want to do something like that, where you're sort of like um, doing it sort of embedded in the sort of themes and the behaviors, a bit like what the devil does with like evil, right? He would embed um, evil qualities into like kids' TV shows, and then children are just learning all these bad habits, right? But do the opposite, but with Christian stuff. Do you do that, or do you make it, you know, fully Christian, but then also or no, I was not say fully Christian, but you know, what I mean, like a more um you know, it's obviously a Christian thing, but then it's more but it's very deep, very a very deep piece of content. Something that's not necessarily been um you know, an angle that's not necessarily been done before, or maybe very spiritual, or you know, something like that. You don't know. Yeah. I find that when you watch many Christian based content, they babyfy so much. And I guess it's so it can be watched by kids. Um, you know, but there's so much like yeah, it makes people misunderstand sometimes the times that what's going on in the Bible as very simple times. Like if you go back to like Noah's Ark, right? The time before Noah was very wicked and cruel, that God wanted to destroy the whole earth. And not just men were wicked and cruel, they also was a lot of, you know, transhumanism, basically half breeds of man and angel. And you can even depict from the text that the seed of animals was also infected as well, because God wanted to destroy the whole of creation and start again, and just reserve a select portion of it. So and yeah, this is where you probably get the other mythology from other cultures, where you've got um centaurs and stuff like this, where you've got like half man and half animal and stuff like this. Many of those different creatures. But if you watch the typical sort of like um, Christian thing about Noah's Ark, it's like just mean people or something like this, you know. And you know, but these people back in those days were probably, you know, sacrificing children, all sorts of dark stuff. You know what I mean? And that doesn't necessarily get depicted uh, in in the content, that you know, Christian content, as much. So it just makes people look minorly bad, and you know what I mean. Um, yeah, rather than just seeing the full, a much larger picture of how bad they were. It's not Tumblr, yeah. Yeah, exactly. Very talented man. You know, he also used to say, he also was kind of have like a, he was, I don't know if he had Tourette's, but he would say, you know, the N word a lot. And he comes across as very racist as well, but I don't know if he was. It's one of those weird things where it's like, you can tell he had the devil like tormenting him real hard, unfortunately. Then he had the FBI problem as well, where he would say the FBI is chasing him and stuff like this. Yeah, poor guy. But there's some constraints for how which PCI devices talk to each other, but Vulkan already supports importing memory buffer from elsewhere. Nothing prevents a specific Vulkan application to its own direct storage system. Right. Cool. I think fully Christian will push some of the market away. Something like Christian, but saying, hey, I'm Christian, think would work. Yeah. I mean, people still doing that day, sadly. Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. It's like weighing it up. But then again, it's like, this is why I got to pray about it a lot, because you'll find out in the Bible, like there's so many stories where, God wants people to do it in the most unconventional way. And then it's just, and people are like, this is never going to work. And then it just works. Like there's the story with Gideon, right? God's like, basically get rid of your entire army, basically, tell people if they're scared to go. And he has such a small army and manages to take on such a big army, basically. Because effectively God wants to just see people to see it's his presence that brought success, and not by man's understanding. So yeah, you just gotta do lots of prayer and trust in the Lord on that one. But yeah, my human understanding would only take me so far. And also as well, you got to remember Jesus spoke in parables, right? Because people weren't going to listen. So he spoke in sort of like a cryptic language, which I do kind of love, because it's the thing that I like to do. And I was like, wow, Jesus does this too. But it's like you speak in this sort of cryptic way. And only the people who really want to listen and understand you, right? And only the people who really actually want to believe and see what you're doing believe, right? Yeah, you know. Yes, alpha. Alpha channels. That's a good point, the Geeko. So alpha channels and UI is probably a problem. What we could do actually is just say, you know what, UI is always just sRGB and we don't really care about the alpha. And I guess if we're gonna need an alpha channel, I guess we can have a few different color types. Let's have a look. Let's start playing around with it. So within DCI-P3, we need a bit more of a wider range color gamut. So we probably want to have a different sort of like packed color type. So I think what we can do is say this one is the sort of, okay, color 32 is probably a very bad name now. And I sort of use this one maybe for HSV as well, maybe. But I guess I guess I don't really have to sort of think about that maybe. You can just repurpose RGB and all that lot, right? Just to mean HSV. It's a bit silly making it explicit like that, I think. So I think for this type, we can just call it maybe like a color. And we should probably put it in a strut. Where is it got def strut in here? Oh. Yeah, def structure. Because GLSL and C is different. Yes, I think we'll def strut. Do I want to? Did you get the implicit casting and then, but no, we won't wrap in a strut for now. Right, so the name, most sensible name might be, so we could say like RGBA 8 bit per channel maybe. It's sort of similar ways of how GLSL does it, where it's like RGBA 16F, right? So it's like 16, 16, 16. So I think that might work. And then it's still a short name. Or I'm not saying 8 underscore and all this. I'm trying to be too explicit about it. So I think that will be reasonable. Okay, so RGBA 8. Yeah, let's just roll with that. Is it a mix between the UK and England? Yeah, I honestly always forget which way round it is for English and US. But yeah, I try to keep to US because one, it's more international. So I do English writing when I write in it, sentences, but programming I'll just do it in US because you can drop a character on color, and also, uh, what's the other one? Yeah, you can typically drop characters on stuff, which helps. So since you've said that, I'm going to correct it now. Thank you. So we're going to need a function which will convert from, yeah, this sort of rec 7 and 9 space to, yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, convert between the spaces, that's cool. So color, I guess this would be the RGBA, so they're basically 8 bits per channel. Then we'll do a very similar thing for, so this is not really defining a color space, if you will, but it's allowing us to use it for other places. So this would just be RGB, RG10, RGB10, maybe it's just 10, 10, 10, alpha 2 maybe. Yeah, maybe do alpha 2, so that gives you 4 different alpha states. So it gives you 0, 33, 66, and 100, right? Yeah, that's probably, ten bits for color and 2 bits for alpha, right? If that wasn't obvious enough. And that way, at least we get some alpha. We don't really need the extra precision in the RNG, to be honest. I think it'd be sensible enough like that. Guess so. Cool. Are any more of the functions that we could do? Yes, so obviously we need some different places for these. So it'll be 10, 20. No, when will it? And at 30. Yeah, cool. Now rather than this mask, it will be, so it's 8 bits, right? F is 4 bits. So it'll just be a 3 to turn on the next 2 bits. Hey, Osha. Yeah, I've been blessed by the Lord with a day off work, basically, of got a new working schedule now, so I don't really work Fridays. So the mornings are reserved for company time, and the odd time, like today, I spent it with my family a bit more, so I get to see more of my family as well, but also manage the business side of things because I'm a businessman now. We have a business, and it requires doing business stuff, which is incredibly boring. And you see why it's kind of a person's whole job to do this stuff because there is a lot of things. But I'm a programmer and it's going to be automated, so it'll be fine. But just setting up the business takes a bit, and I need to get things in the right place. But so I can meet deadlines and stuff and just not have to care about it. Um, but yeah, business. But yeah, so the afternoons I'm going to be coming in streaming, get some more work done. Be cool. Yeah, extra family time as well. Get to see my boy. It's so much fun. Yeah, he's growing up now. He's 2.5, and yeah, um, yeah, it's past 2.5 now, I think. Yeah, he's starting to talk a lot more. Um, yeah, lots of fun. So, yep, channel mask set. Guess we'll live with that. Clear. Yep. Color. Lovely. 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 So we could do similar versions of this. Should we just do the basics for now? Yeah. Let's get this in a reasonable space. I don't know about pink and all that, but let's see. So white, that's a yes, right? So in terms of the alpha, alpha would just be 2 bits, right? So it'd be a funny. Okay, so gray. So this is 4 bits here. This final F, so it's a bit of a fiddle. So C would be keeping the bits on the left, the furthest left, which is the alpha. So that would be. So when you're doing gray, these intermediate grays, you want to sort of keep track. Yeah, those are going to be fiddly, so we're just going to not do those until we need them. Now, black with the alpha bits on would then be a 0 there and a C. Right, because C from my memory is it's these 2 bits on the left of the nibble, as it's called. Red is quite easy, right? So we do 10 bits. So we want, obviously, so red is here. So 10, so you need 3. Because that's the first 2 bits of a nibble. Orange and yellow line we won't care about, but green, we'll care about it. So green will be the last 2 bits, which would be a C, then F and F. Blue would be F, F, F. That's right. Because you need the. Yep. So we'll get rid of this, and then we'll obviously give it a rename. So 2, 10. Lovely. Cool. So there's the basics. We'll add more when need. So now we've got this new sort of packed color type. We can now go ahead and get some conversion functions. So I probably want to stick them in, we'll at least stick them in. So sharing functions between GPU and CPU is terrible, but we could, I don't think we'll need the conversion functions on a CPU side, but we might. So let's just go to GPU, shared, and so there's some maths stuff. Okay, so we're looking for a space where we can dump this sort of color conversion, color spaces. There's the section. So This is all on GPU. It's got like linear from sRGB and all that, right? Or HSV. So yeah, yeah. So this might work, but be space independent, maybe. I don't know though if it is. Yeah, we got OK Lab. Oh yeah, we won't be using HSV anymore anyway, because we got OK Lab these days, and OK LCH. Those are real good. They're when you shift the brightness and the saturation, or the chroma as it's called, it preserves the hue, which is super nice. And we made a color picker for that in the past, which we're going to be pouring over to this project when we need it. I've got the code, it's fine. It's very easy to port over. Luminance, right, okay, so where's these? So all we want is some functions, and thankfully we can just Google them these days and get them. So I want to basically go from DCI-P3 from RGB, from linear sRGB. In Gilacell, please, no matrices. It loves Cinematrix and I don't like matrices. Thank you, that's what I want. So I wonder. Right, why these numbers? Why the color gamut? Next red channel is equals exactly 1. This ensures the luminance is preserved during the shift. Yeah, blue is basically identical, isn't it? Interesting. Cool, cool, cool. Nice. So we want one of these. Be very useful. So linear sRGB. It's not really linear sRGB then, is it? It's like RGB. Linear RGB. Anyway. So P3 from RGB. Oh, I could just return it like that. Cool. Next one is the other way around. So, hey Zen, good to see you again too. No, matrices to matrices is not. No matrices to matrix with not a matrix sticker on its head. Oh, what's trying to say there? So maybe. Oh yeah. No matrix, probably a plural. Yeah, exactly. Dot products. I prefer it like that. I don't like using the matrix, using a matrix type, because a matrix type requires, like, if I'm going to port it to another, it sometimes requires like certain matrix types basically, and functions and stuff, which I don't always have. Just having them as plain vectors is just easier. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, they are just matrices, you're right. Just they're done raw. It's like the raw maths underneath, which is what I would like. Yeah, I guess it's called the matrices at home, whatever it calls. You know, we've got matrices at home, and it's just vectors. Yeah, stream so often. It's gonna be amazing. Yeah, got some time, more time now, and it doesn't cut into family time, which is the best thing. I got a whole day off now. I got Friday off, so I got reduced hours. But you know, I'm gonna be using it to get out on the streets as well and do some evangelism. Which I'll be doing very soon. Actually going out tomorrow with the church. That'll be cool. Cool, there we go. P3 from... Yep. And we probably want a way now to go from P3 to Break 2020. So... Then once we've got all these conversion functions... Then... Yeah, these are the last ones. Then we can go around the code and just put them everywhere. Oh, maybe I should have called that Rec 709. Yeah, it's probably a better name. Lovely. Right, let's get these guys in. So Rec 2020 from P3. P3 from Rec 2020. So this is the wider color space, and we have to use this color space when we deal with HDRs on the display, even though the displays don't support the Rec 2020 space. But there is some very professional ones that cost a lot of money, but most people don't have those ones like me. Most people just have ones which only support P3, which is what Apple have been doing for a very long time on their MacBooks. Cool, so now we've got these guys. I think we're ready just to go around and do all the conversions now. So my UI system is probably going to be in the still, I guess let's just make sure the thing's compiling these days. So my UI system uses color 32 stuff everywhere. That's going to be in RG, in Rec 709 standard RGB. So when we render that to the render target, though, we're going to convert that color in shader space, right? So as soon as we pick it out from the buffer where it's stored, we're going to convert it and operate on it in DCI-P3. Yeah, I agree. It's simpler to think about them this way, and I still do this today. If I need to multiply a matrix, I transpose it first, so I can go horizontally. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's right. If I go vertically on one and one horizontally the other, my brain cannot function. Yeah, I know what you mean. You always have to like triple check it, double check it, and then like run it through some tests because, well, you know, just quick simple ones. We try out some values and just write. You know, if you want to, oh, or at least try and see if it's a transform matrix, if it behaves right. Yeah, and then you got the column major, row major stuff, and it's like, oh, yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be understood by human beings, matrices. Yeah, my camera does drop FPS. I don't even know what's going on. The crazy thing is if I display it in the Anchor work, it's an Anchor webcam, Anchor work webcam. If I display it in that program, it's super smooth 30 FPS or even does 60 FPS. It's amazing. But it's OBS, terrible. And I try and Google it and it doesn't provide me with any help. Maybe there's something else I can do, but it's just bizarre. Yeah, I think OBS is the problem, but I don't know how. I am using the GPUs to do the encoding. I don't know. If anyone has any suggestions, I'd like to hear them. But yeah, it's just bizarre. Right, so we're using color 32. Right, so all in the UI, obviously. So RGB 8. Yeah, so this color picker is what we used to have. It's the LCH color picker. So we're gonna probably make that go wider later on when we actually have it in the editor. We'll sort it out. It'll be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. Cool. Then UI.c. Cool. Now in the UI shaders. So what UI shaders we got? So UI render. I don't think there's a color in here. The vertex shader, obviously, that makes sense. But there's the fragment shader. So fragment shaders, there's like it's basically a simple SDF one. I'm sure you guys remember I had a more complicated SDF one with different instructions and stuff, but I simplified it such that it'll render faster. And it's now done using vertex shader, fragment shader stuff. So yeah. In here we use colors, right? So we just gotta do the color space conversion. So here's color. This is going to be in DCI-P3. So when we do this stuff, right, we want to do, so what I might do is make a cleaner function which goes from sRGB to P3, maybe. Yeah, I think we'll do that. So sRGB. So does the Rec 709. And then be linear from Hey Soulfime, how you doing? Yeah, I don't know why it gets so bad. It's horrible. Not sure what I can do about it, really. Don't know if I'll do anything here or mess it up. Or if it's going to help. Just have to ignore my jittery face. Yeah, good to see you too, Soul Foam. How's it been? What you been up to? Give me an update. If you want to share, that is. So sRGB from P3. I doubt we'll need this one, but we'll make it anyway. So return sRGB from linear rec 709 from P3. Lovely. Oh, lovely. Oh, we need like a fast, is it a fast 4 or something like that? Cool. Rightio, so you've got to unpack it, obviously. Unpack unorm, the 8 packed integer, unpack it, then run it through those. So there shouldn't be many of these. Lovely. So I think that's it. So for the box and the border box, you've got an inner and outer border color. The glyphs, what about the glyphs? Glyph color. Yeah. What you doing? Did I not unpack it for some reason? No, I kept it as sRGB. Wait a minute, was my glyph colors already... Yeah, they weren't going into linear for some reason. That was dumb. I missed that. Okay. But I'm curious, did I... Oh yeah, the vector 3s though. Crap. If you make vector 4 versions, they'll just obviously keep the alpha. Yeah, they can be overloaded. They can be overloaded. We could do that. Just overload them. Yeah, I think we'll just do that. Does the job. P3. So sRGB from linear. Wait, why did I do that sRGB from linear? Oh crap, I messed that one right up. Yeah, so this one, then rec 709 from P3. Cool. Vector 4s, please. Vec 4. Cool. So see if that works. So 3. Yeah, so sRGB from P3, so it's sRGB from linear, rec 79 from P3, yep. P3 goes in, just preserve the alpha, yep. Then preserve the alpha, good. Right, so the other one that we didn't do on was these two, so just quickly do these. And then, so 4, 4. RGB, rec 709, die. Right, then the last one is here. Finally. Here's a P3. It's P3 from... Cool, so now with the Vector 4 versions, this code should just work with Vector 4s, which would be great. Nice. Right, let's catch up on the chats. It's just that make sure stream at lower quality than it is. Visual cam makes up the part of your screen, it's lagging everywhere. Oh no. Well, it lags everywhere? Yeah, it does lag everywhere, doesn't it? You know, the whole thing is maybe lagging, is that right? So if I drag my window, it's lagging on my screen as well, to be honest. This ain't smooth. Is my computer terrible? But it's using like barely of my... Yeah, it's saying at 15 FPS at 30 FPS. Why is that? Is my PC too terrible to handle it? But my GPU's not even spinning that hard and my CPU's quite low as well. Okay, this is something to play around with. I can't fix it now, but... Yeah, doing this is like super laggy on my screen. But we are just programming, which is great. But yeah, I need to improve that. I'll do that. We've got some time tomorrow to do it in the morning. Is that 4K resolution? It should be manageable. My machine's... It's not terrible, but it's not amazing. Yeah, you're right. Got one project launching very soon. Nice, which will be sure to link when it does. Awesome. It's amazing. Congratulations. Yeah, I'd love to see it when you got it ready. Been following 5 years already, kinda. Crazy it's been that long. Yeah, man. I wonder where I was 5 years ago. But yeah. That was before I was married. Yeah, wasn't it? Before I got married. That was around the COVID times. Maybe. Yeah, a little bit after COVID. So what happens? The whole here dev whole branding thing confused me a bit. Yeah. So Lind, there's a stream on Sunday. Go check the VOD for that. It's on Twitch. It'll only be there for up to 2 weeks, so it's got maximum FOMO. But yeah, that's not the reason why. But it's only really designed for you guys and stuff like that who are, people watched before. Yeah, people watched before and want to see where I've been, what I've been doing, what's the plan, what's the plan from now, and why, basically. If you want to see all that stuff, check the VOD out. It'll be good. Yeah, exactly. The fear of missing out. No. Yeah. That was not my plan. I was thinking about posting it somewhere, but then I was like, it's probably just better off I don't and do some other stuff. Right, so we've got this lovely P3 from sRGB conversions. That way, the color space that we're rendering in when we render out the UI is P3 color space, right? Even though the inputs we use sRGB. That's okay. We don't really care our UI elements being in HDR. We don't really care about that. That's okay. We can change it later if we want to. Although the color picker would want to, yeah, except for the color picker, we'll want to use P3. Yeah, it will. So just the color picker will be that HDR thing. That's fine. I like that compromise. So what's the other place we need to go to? So the other place we want to go to now is, well, I guess find all the other color 32 places. Right. So all of these debug drawing things actually seem to be using my debug draws. They want to use the old RGB alpha RGBA8 stuff. Not a big deal. I doubt we'll need that, but let's just change it anyway. I don't think it compiles. So any debug drawing as well, just keep it sRGB stuff. And that means we want to change the shaders too, but no biggie. So I think those will render to a P3 color palette. So I've got one for game side code, one for graphics side code, and the other one for GPU side code. And they all feed into different buffers, I think, kind of, and get uploaded to the GPU and stuff like that. Or they're already on the GPU and just get rendered. So very handy debug drawing utilities. Right, nearly there with converting these 32s to... Right, last file. Cool. So that means that we need to change the shaders there. So it's called Draw 2D. You're not going to give me the GLSL for that? Well, okay. That's why it didn't pop up, but there we go. So inside this one, so this one's basically just another fragment shader, pixel shader thing. And yeah, we just pack all the parameters into like a word buffer of 32-bit integers. And those just get reinterpret casted into the appropriate data. So it's just like a void array of bytes basically, but they're always, each element is kind of the size of a U32 because it's a GPU, right? So now there's obviously color involved with this, and it does end up outputting it to the P3 color space. So Yeah. We could probably do it one at a time, but it's just debug code. We're better off probably just changing these to P3 from sRGB instead. There we go. Now, we also have a draw 3D. I don't know why it never gets the file extension. It's really annoying. Right, let's just take a look at all the colors. There's quite a lot of 3D shapes. If you've seen the VOD, you know, you've seen it before. There's like ABB and all this color. So I didn't actually do the colors properly by the looks of it. Maybe. No, so I think I didn't. Right, I think I did the conversion at the end. No. Okay. So I guess we can just do it here instead. So conversion is P3 from lovely. I don't think any of the colors are kind of operated on, or maybe smooth T. Be an sRGB space, so it'd be a bit weird, but that's okay. It's just debug code. Right, we're good. So, what's left to get compiling? The UI uses some hard-coded color some things. So that'll be RGB A8. Oh, there's a lot of little colors there. Right, I think that's the right ones. Maybe not. Where's core shared it was in? Oh yeah, right. Should work. Oh yeah, I've obviously renamed grey, didn't I? To the American grey. Because just to keep it consistent. Right, getting close. So the next one to do after this, we'll be getting the sky rendering to use DCI-P3 as well, because that's in. That does spectral rendering actually, which is pretty cool stuff, but it's really expensive. So I'll just keep the skies in spectral rendering, but then yeah, I was looking at it. It's really cool actually. If you guys don't know what spectral rendering is, go and ask your nearest AI bot about it. It's fun, and the way it compares like material and the material blending to that you do in a standard renderer to spectral renderer. It's kind of cool. Right, I think it's got too many of these. Oh no, it's the semicolon, of course. Sorry, the comma. Right. And voila, we're back. So this, I don't know if it looks a bit different or not. Yeah, I think it does. This looks slightly different, and that's because as the UI looks a bit different, I think this does as well. For you guys, it's probably just very white. But it's HDR content to me, it's a little bit better. I think you guys finally see the orange bit here. But it's all orangey and pink. Now, we still need to change the sky to use DCI-P3, and we still need to make sure we change the post-processing and the final shader which writes it out from the HDR render post-processing render target to the swap chain surface to make sure all those conversions are doing things okay. Now, so here we go. So let's do the post-processing one first, because I don't want to forget this. Yesterday we added the GT7 tone mapper, which was cool. So we added these functions in here to do the conversions between Rec 709 and Rec 2020. We don't need that anymore. So remember, Rec 2020 is that sort of like industry standard super wide color gamut, which displays don't really render out to yet because it's that, you know, it's except for maybe some really expensive displays. So we're just using P3, which is the sort of smaller color gamut, but it's wider than the standard sRGB one. So it's just a bit wider. So the color that we're reading in here, the scene image, that's in P3. We now need to go from Rec to Rec 2020 from P3 because that is what the tone mapper wants. Right, GT7 tone mapper wants it in that. But then we want our render target, our UI. Hang on a minute. Could we just leave our UI in Rec 2020 space? Then it would avoid me converting it back and then convert it to and from back. So we could leave our UI render target in Rec 2020 space always. And then when we output it to, yeah, I think we'll do that. That might be it. Yeah, I think we'll do that. We'll bring these into the header because then that means we don't have to keep converting it, and that does save some converting. I just wonder if we'll get some color banding in places. We should be fine with a RGBA 16, I think. Fine. Hang on a minute. Will we get color banding? Probably. Yeah, we might get some more color banding and stuff like this. So, actually, we'll just convert it back to P3. If it becomes a performance problem, yeah, we can try out some other time. Let's put it back to P3. We put it back into here. Nice. Now, then in the shaders which put out to the surface, it's called encode to surface. There's a HDR version and an SDR version, right? So, right, P3 or PQ. So PQ is the format which you write out to in so it's like ST 2048. So we load in our scene image. This would be in P3. We're going to go from direct 2020 from P3, do this sort of white point scale, and then go to PQ from Rec 2020. So that's for HDR and outputs to an RGB 10 A2. Yeah, maybe it should have, maybe, maybe it would be fine to keep it in Rec 2020 since it always outputs. No, we'll leave it. We'll leave it alone. Yeah. Then the other one is SDR. Encode service SDR. So this is just standard RGB 8, right? 8 bits per channel. Now, so this would be in P3 when we load it in. We want to get it into sRGB from P3. So we just do that. And yeah, so I'll go from sRGB to linear then to P3 automatically for us, which would be cool. And there we go. So we try that. The image should look a bit different now. And that should be a proper full process. Although this is looking darker for me. I'm noticing these whites. This white text. Is it white text though? Yeah, so luckily we're using version control and I did commit before. So we could sort of stash our changes, if you will, and unstash and see what the difference is. So if I use the, of course, when I take a screenshot like this, it fixes itself, right? It looks normal now. Because it does that. HDR monitors and Windows screenshot tool don't work. So this might be because it's HDR, but you know what? I got my phone. I guess we'll right. So what I'll do is take another picture. Can we stash changes? Right, how do we stash? So isn't it push pop? Something like that. All tracked changes, they're all tracked. Pop. Right, let's recompile. Right, seems like it's the same. Yeah, so the grays look the same. Still. Yeah, okay, that's good. Yeah, so I think we're doing crap git stash. Lovely, we're back in business. Cool. So we're in a quite good place now. There's one more thing to sort out, then P3 is all settled. I think it's all settled after this, but it's the sky rendering, of course. And then I guess the mesh rendering, but we're not using meshes just yet. But yeah, so I guess let's see. So yeah. So let's go to the sky shader. So the other day we ported this sky shader, shader toy. This physically based sky one, it looks really nice. R1 doesn't look as good anymore because we're currently in the middle of tone mapping and SDR stuff, and this is what it's supposed to look like, right? It's gorgeous, but it was kind of looking like this when I brought all of the exposure down. So I think what we're gonna have to do after we've done all this we're going to do bloom. Yeah, we're going to take a quick pause after this HDR stuff and just get bloom in basically, and then we'll get an exposure system in, so we can do a manual exposure and then an auto exposure, which is going to be handy, I think. So yeah, it does this thing in like it does like a spectral rendering. So I'm not sure if you guys know what that is, but spectral rendering is like yeah, I wonder what the spectral rendering is. Oh yeah, something in this one, multi-scatter, I think, I'm not sure, but yeah, spectral rendering, it's effectively like you've got different rays of light which operate at different wavelengths, and you're basically simulating for a given pixel and across those different wavelengths, like yeah, you're basically sampling the material at those different wavelengths effectively, and then combining the result later on. Yeah, just it's much easier if you find out yourself. Basically, that's the general gist. But there's a function called that he made called linear sRGB from spectral samples. Right. So what I want to try and do is get one which where is it called? So linear sRGB from spectral sample. Yeah, that's in the sky shader. Sky shade. Okay. It's in the common one, I think. Yeah. So he's got this all matrix, and that's what he converts. So we need one where it's like the P3 basically. So we've got to do a bit of research to figure out how we're going to do this. Or what we could do is apply another conversion function which converts from sRGB to then P3, and I guess that would work. But then it's a bit too many things. Yeah, I wonder, because we could use that Python program. It's called there's basically a Python program where you can pass it in a bunch of maths code, and it can then give you the most optimized maths expression. But maybe we'll just chuck into Google AI and just see what it does with it. I wonder if it can recreate this in Google AI. If I didn't tell it about it, then I'll trust it more. So if I ever had this. Right. Can you provide a function to from convert to P3, DCI-P3 from spectral spectral. Let's give it that and see what it produces. So XYZ is a different color space though. Oh, I did it to P3 directly, damn it. So there's the accumulated, right? XYZ. Yeah, see, I wonder where the sort of, because I looked at the code, it doesn't really look, what's that in scatter thing? It's this up here. Yeah, it says the transmittance lookup table. I guess. Yeah, I'm not sure what part of it makes it spectral though. So there's that common tab at the bottom. Yeah, spectral rendering stuff. Okay, just conversions. But there was a obviously different color values or irradiance. There was another function that had it. Oh, multi-scattering is one that I was thinking of, right? Yeah. Right, let's read bit what it's saying. Converting spectral data from to classified DCI-P3 is a two-step process. First, you must convert samples from device independent CIE XYZ coordinate system using color matching functions and transform XYZ into yeah. Contiguous table efficiently in a shader. We use the analytical approximation. So are we just looking for like an XYZ? Are we just looking for like an XYZ to P3? Is that what we're looking for? Is that what that is? So just remembered in the dot product thing, which I told it about. How about XYZ to sRGB? How about sRGB? That's not sRGB. But yeah, I think what we can do maybe is just do it this way. Later on we can throw through that program, that Python program. But for now, I think we'll do it this way. Oh, it's linear, isn't it? So rec 709. Yeah, so we'll do that for now. Now, I wonder. Okay, let's just give that a go. We'll put a to-do by there, I guess. Yeah. Basically combine the matrices, isn't it, at that point? That's all it is. Goes directly to P3. Cool. Rightio. Okay. Nice. Okay, so I think we're in a good place now. So that's the first thing off the checklist. The next thing we're going to be working on is, just got to find it now. Oh yeah, this is the problem that we ran into yesterday. It was, yeah, here's a fun one. So we've got a shader. It'd be quite easy to solve actually. But it's kind of getting towards the end of the day, so UI render. Oh yes, post-processing. So effectively, this is sort of like the command buffer recording. We first put in the shaders which do the sky shading. Those take a little bit longer than I would like. We can obviously optimize it. But to generate the the lookup table for the sky, it takes 1.13 milliseconds. We actually don't even need to do that every frame. We only need to do that every single time we resize the sky target. We need to rerun that lookup table. That's it. Okay. The sky shading takes around 4 milliseconds. This kind of sucks. We probably want to tweak some parameters to optimize it. But what we could do is run it once every other frame, or maybe put it on an async compute pipe thing, right? Which is completely independent of the main command buffer, right? It just keeps running in the background, and then it sort of updates some GPU memory to be like, hey, the new sky is ready, and then it will the main game, when it goes to use the sky, it's like, oh, there's the new rendered sky that's ready, and that will be maybe that'll be scheduled every so many milliseconds. I don't know, but it's tough to figure out because there's problems with each of these solutions. Yeah, it's quite expensive shader to run. Yeah, I think what we could do is run it. We could run the sky shader on async compute. When we know the job is done on the CPU side, we can just issue off another one, right? But it would be on a low priority queue, so hopefully uses just a portion of the compute units, and it doesn't interrupt the main render frame as much, potentially. So what stuff like that we could do. We could do it at the same time. Maybe not as mesh rendering. Anyway. But then it does the down sample, it's pretty quick. You'll see the scene. But yeah, what was I here? Yeah, I was just showing the performance when I... Here, sky shading, meshes, then the scene shading, basically shading in the mesh pixels with materials, which we still haven't done yet. We're doing that very soon after we just got the post-processing on all the HDR in, basically, and bloom and stuff like this, such that the materials can really shine. Now, post-processing happens, and it has a bit of a problem where we have to know, am I able to render out to a HDR screen? But right now we don't have access to the swap chain because the swap chains get acquired here. And this is when it asks Vulkan and says, hey, I would like some swap chains to render to for these windows from the UI system. Now the UI system could be on, the window could be on any monitor, and those monitors could have HDR or not have HDR. And we need to find out when, and this scene target where it's rendered, yeah, we need to know what window it's on and if that Windows swap chain surface has HDR support. So effectively, we need to move this inside here, right? Then I just realized I probably broke this debug drawing, but now it's fixed because I had the post-processing before it and it rendered to the old target. But anyway, now what we need to do as well is pass in, we need to find what window the scene is on. Now we only have one scene being rendered per frame at the moment, but in the future we might do multiple scenes and stuff like this, but rendering a scene is expensive. Yeah, I don't know. We've got to judge the we've got to weigh everything up and see what the right solution is. So the basic idea is from the graphics API perspective, the game graphics API perspective is it has a payload. We say what rectangle, or the rectangle where it is on the screen. Right, we take that in and it's useful to know. So the next thing we probably want to have is kind of like a UI window ID of, or maybe not a UI window ID, an operating system window ID of what what window the scene is being drawn to. That shouldn't be too hard to get to. So let's see what we can do to find that out. So we basically just have a immediate mode UI, right? Just a little custom one. Does all the multi-window stuff and all this, which is pretty nice. And yeah, they're called panels, a window. So you can put panels on panels that are inside the same doc group, basically. And here we're just rendering out an image, and it's the scene post-processed image. But here I think we want to somehow say UI window ID. So with the UI system, you can get the window something, but I think I can just make a new function called window OS ID. Yep. So we'll make this function. It shouldn't be too bad. I think we'll stick them here. Yeah, we'll stick them here. So lovely getters. Oh. So in the UI system, there's a current window, and that window has an operating system ID. And then we can use that to get the surface in the renderer, providing it's been made and all this. So when that goes in there, then rightio. Right, so when we're in the renderer now, that would have made the, oh crap. Yeah, close enough. That's in the game structure. Again, we don't really have much of a game going on yet. This is where we go after renderer done. Right, we go game side and sort that out. But for now, it's just got a, so I've got some places in the code already in a good position for multi-threading. It's just I haven't taken the leap to make a separate game simulation or game logic thread, but that will come when when rendering good place. But game.c it's in. So there's a graphics payload. So the classical strategy that people do is you have basically these sort of like payloads that you make for the graphics thread, and when the game simulation thread or the game logic thread is done, you basically go over all of your entities, and then you get all the graphics related bits, and you sort of package that data down into this payload, and you basically just swap it, or hand that one over to the um, render thread. Or another approach you can do is have like a game structure that you basically just give it, and it's const or something like this, or whatever. Yeah, so like here I've given it the game world, like the entity world. Just you can just hand one over to it. So I think we might do it that way, so we don't have to keep re-encoding stuff. But anyway, we'll see. Yeah, so it all has pros and cons. So we just want to do something like this, but pass the window ID in. And then it calls graphics render, and we go ahead and do that. So at the bottom, when we finally do the rendering of the UI, just before there, we want to pass in whether or not this is HDR. So how does one know that? Well, in the UI we did this yesterday. So go over all the windows. We need to get the surface. So something like this. So yeah, I think we want to get the payload, UI scene, window ID. We can then go to here, drop, oh, drop that in there, and jobs are good. A10 porous. Sunday. But yeah, welcome back, sir. How are you doing? Yeah, so Sunday, did a stream. There was, I was talking about it on the Discord channel coming back. I was keeping people updated over time and where I've been, and I sort of distilled everything down into a presentation format, and that VOD is available on Twitch, and it will be up there for another, actually probably be up there for another week from now, actually. I've been saying 2 weeks. Whoops. Yes, it'll probably only be up there for like another week because I did it last Sunday. So yeah, watch it before it goes out. I'm probably not going to keep it around because it was just something for you guys to watch. But I will probably make another video of some kind which has some of that information, but not all of it. We'll see. It'll be tailored towards a different kind of audience, that's why. But it has a sort of where I've been, what I've been doing, the plans, and why, basically. It's pretty cool. It was received well. Yeah, glad to hear you've been good. It is HDR, jobs are good, and look at that. Lovely. Man, that was nice and easy. Now I wonder what we can do. Oh crap, what have I done? Been modified by an external process? Not very nice.
Programming in C is better than anything they got over there.
What have you done? What external process modified my stuff? I know I did the stash, but that's surely not it. Oh yeah, with all that RGB stuff, right? Yeah, it's fine. Oh wait. Yeah, it's alright. Let's just... I think it's a bit late to the game of understanding that, isn't it? Yeah, cool. I think that's fine. That's good. What other files are there? Oh, we're good, I think. Well, what can I say? Hey, Lisbon Games, welcome, sir. So we've just been adding support for the DCI P3 color space, such that our main game rendering will be done in DCI P3 space instead of Rec 709. So, in plain English, what does that mean? Well, most displays typically... Oh, for crying out loud, Google. Hang on. My brain. There we go. So, you know, old school displays would do this sort of sRGB, which is this triangle here. But HDR is more than just sort of an extended brightness range. It's also an extended color gamut range, meaning there's more greens and more reds for people's eyeballs to fall in love with. Now, to do that, you you want to put the main game renderer. So that means whenever you make material colors or make or do some, yeah, whenever you pick some material colors, uh, you want that to all be done in, or maybe not necessarily pick the material colors, but at least when you do the main game shading and everything and lighting, you want that to be done in the P3 color space, such that when you then tone map it and then send it out to the display, you've kind of leveraged that new color space. Now, we in the future, very very soon, when we've got a basic sky render, very basic sky render. Well, it's not basic. It's a physically based one, but it needs to be. We're just currently monkeying around with HDR and stuff like this. We're going to be doing material shading after we've done bloom. Yeah, we need bloom and exposure, probably some manual exposure or auto exposure, right, or both. Yeah, so the material shading is going to be done procedurally in this engine. So we're going to make it such that all of the textures are done with procedural code at runtime rather than having stuff which is read from texture files. So this means we'll be able to basically make the full pipeline in that wider color gamut. So all those input colors, there'll be like a color picker you pop up and you can just select from a wider color gamut and select a color and procedurally make different textures like, I don't know, like dirt or grass or metals and stuff like this using that wider color gamut, which would be really nice. Yeah, so this is what we're working on at the moment, is kind of just getting all the color stuff in the right place, such that when we do the material rendering stuff next, so we haven't got any meshes yet, we'll render some simple triangles and do some materials and just at runtime, just to kind of gauge performance on, how much of a good idea would it be performance wise to do material shading or procedural materials they're called at runtime, right? So yeah, this is what we're working on over the next couple of weeks. And today we've done the P3 color space stuff. We've just sorted out a bug that we didn't deal with yesterday. And what was one more thing I wanted to do today is prepare the way for doing bloom and exposure by making a quick scene of things, of meshes with emissiveness, I think. Yeah, thank you so much. So yeah, in the past I have done graphic stuff day to day, although at the moment I'm not really doing that sort of stuff for now. For political reasons, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, let's skip past that. But I guess 4 times a week I'll be doing it. So we stream Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday. The schedule's down there on Twitch. It's underneath the channel on Twitch. You can see it. So yeah, we're doing graphics programming over the next, I don't know, next 6 months maybe. Gonna make a really cool render, I think. Fewer meshes, probably hierarchical LOD. And yeah, yep. With an editor, built-in editor as well. How about yourself? What stuff do you work on? Awesome. We also have a Discord channel if you're interested in joining as well. Talk about all sorts, people share their own projects and stuff, and yeah. It's all written in C as well, custom engine and things. I got this cool little tool, texture viewer as well. Yes, this this kind of image looks way better. This is ideally what we want it to make it look like. Anyway, it's just that's so overexposed though, isn't it? So we want to like make sure we have a nice exposure. This is why we need to bring everything down a bit, and so it doesn't sort of overexpose and our eyeballs like yeah. Nice, amazing, very cool, awesome. What API are you using for the graphics? Is it Vulkan or DirectX? Right, so the next thing I want to sort out is just making a basic scene. Basically, we want to make something like this. I'm not going to do exactly like this because I think this has already kind of got its own bloom. When I was looking at the code, it's like it seems to be accumulating the color. And I don't really want to do that because that would be, I want to have a bloom post-processing effect to make it bloom. So yeah, we want to basically just put a bunch of meshes down in like a triangle form, and do some sort of barycentric color-based coordinate, coloring based on a barycentric coordinate, right? And yeah, we just want to recreate this, but with meshes, I think. Maybe with rectangular meshes as well, I think. Something like that. So we're just going to make a bunch of planes. And yeah, jobs are good, I think. So Yeah. I wonder about this logic though, if we can use it. Because it seems quite simple. Right. It's like a 2D loop. And so I think we can leverage this. And we'll get the XY coordinates basically. Yeah, so I think we can just do that. Right? And we can try and plot out some meshes. That's the basic idea. So we've got some mesh system, I think. I kind of built some stupid simple mesh system. What I'd like to do, you can allocate a mesh with some vertices and it sort of puts those in a place. So yeah. I guess let's orientate the camera into a nicer place. That'll be game.c orbit cam. Theta I 270. Come on. Yeah, so now our triangle's back. Cool. So we're just gonna place some triangles around this. Right. So I think we can like paste in that for loop basically and create some lovely vertices. So maybe we'll just do a bunch of triangles, right little triangles. See. Directing 12, cool. Nice. Yeah, very similar to Vulkan, isn't it, basically? Yeah, just... right. You didn't get much graphics coding on Twitch. Awesome. Yeah. Yeah, I guess you get a lot of people using engines, don't you, basically? If they're doing game development. So... Lovely. Square root... 32. So n was 8, wasn't it? Why am I writing const? I never write const. Ugh. Right, let's just do it anyway. Constant, it's so pointless. Right, so that made loads of them in the same place. That's okay. So, what I'm going to imagine doing is we could do... So I guess we want some kind of like spacing, basically. I guess we'll call it spacing. Maybe we'll make it 0.1 or something like this. Maybe it's just call it dim. Even better. So what we would like is probably some... Well... Yeah, I wonder... Yeah, so you definitely want some kind of like vector, so position or something like that. Yeah, so I think all of them would probably be x, y something, right? So it'd be now, so one could be minus dim, so I'll bring it down like down and left, right? Then we want your other one to be to the right and down. And the last one you want is kind of in the middle, but going up only, right? And that will get you just a triangle. So we're going to have a triangle of triangles. So let's see if that works. They might be spaced out a bit too far, though. Okay, we can't see anything. The dim is probably too small, maybe. I don't know. So we could use render doc as well. Yeah, they were 20 last time, weren't they? 20 and minus 20. Yeah, it's quite big. So let's at least make it 1. Right, so we see a triangle, which is a step in the right direction. But we don't see anything else. So yeah, I don't know if mesh is the right thing to use, maybe. Or we'll use them. Yeah, we'll just add whatever we need to add to meshes to get them to work. So, y, oh, y. So I think we want to print out v equal let's just print out x maybe, something like that. I guess. Why are you complaining? Thank you. We just want to see what sort of different x values we'll get. So we've got right. So it seems like they're all kind of close to each other because I think they're in like a signed norm coordinate space. Okay. So since they're in a signed norm coordinate space, that probably comes from yes, we need to definitely multiply. Oh no. All right. So these need to be multiplied by something. So they're already multiplied by. Well, not really. Right. So to sort of space them out different. Sorry, a bit. Let's just multiply it by maybe 5 units. Maybe that's a bit too much. We'll find out. Wait, hang on a minute. They've got like a 0Z. But the camera's pulled back, I think. Yeah, so. Don't these have like a matrix? Right, they're just identity. Yeah, that probably would have been a better idea, right? Just do a. Yeah, we should probably pass an actual matrix. But anyway. Why doesn't it want to. You know what, we're probably not rendering all the instances. If we go to the mesh renderer, mesh. Yeah, I'm just rendering 3. Pretty good. Pretty good mesh renderer we got here. So we want to know the number of instances we're rendering, maybe. So would that have bumped an instance on? It would, wouldn't it? So we could probably just... It's going to be terrible, but here we go. Voila. Magic. Right, there we go. There's some triangles. The colors are very weird. Oh yeah, those are based on the hashes of the instance index, I think, and the triangle index. But yeah, so we can start spacing them out a bit. Right, so triangle of triangles, and that will do. So keep the spacing, so we'll maybe make it 10. Have I heard about Terry Davis? Yes. Nice, welcome back, Eco, sir. Hey, I've made the Triforce. Wow. Yeah, so Terry Davis, you know, he was supposedly a Christian. I know, because I kind of knew about him before I was really much of a Christian, but yeah, he would stream some really, hardcore stuff, and you know, he was a good programmer, that's for sure. But he's obviously tormented by demons, you could tell. Look, reflecting back on it now, you could tell he was tormented by demons. He is very talented, but not very, mentally ill. But the word mental illness gets chucked around like it's just a physical thing, but there's a big spiritual component to that, I'm sure. Because what people don't typically understand is a lot of mental illness is probably spiritual illness. Being attacked by demons and all sorts. But I wonder if he was a saved Christian, though. I don't know. 'Cause you do get attacked by demons when you're a Christian, but yeah, I hope he was, because he would. Yeah. Yeah, obviously he suffered a lot. He had some lots of problems. Hey, coffee lover, how you doing? Read a verse every day, every time 24 hours. So Terry Davis mentions, yeah. I know exactly right. I'll be, it used to be Harry Potter, you know. Hey, are you a Harry Potter? It used to be like that, but now it's Terry Davis. So I don't know where to go from here. I guess this is just, the way things are. Um, right, I think we'll add a little bit more space in such that when we bloom, the light bleeding out into the surrounding areas won't be bleeding on top of each other. That sort of thing. So maybe 20. There we go. Lovely spacing. Now, what we want to do is kind of make them bloom. Now, also, how are they colored, right? They're colored by they're colored based on their hash of the triangle ID and the instance index chucked into a single 32-bit integer by like shuffling those two things into place and then hashing it and making a color. Now, is that fine? Well, what would be nice is if we did the full DCI-P3 color space. That would be great. And it would be great if we really could pass that up from the CPU side. Now, we could put a whole like material system in and stuff like this, but then it would just make it incredibly hard to set the actual color, right? So is there a way we could pass in a color somehow, and we could pass it up by the vertices, but then you'd put some hack in there and stuff like that. That's the way we could do it just for now. We've got this function here. We could, this packed mesh instances here, we could just put whatever we want in here. So, okay, we'll put in a color. Sorry, RGB. How are we doing? It's an RGB10 A2. So this be our lovely color. And we'll probably do like a barycentric coordinate based on those where you're on those triangles, and that'll be your color. So nice. So we'll just change this API. Again, this API is going to get changed in something proper later on, but for now, solves the problem. So RGB 10 A2. Is your any greater than or equal to some sort of optimization? Are you talking about that specifically? Those specific functions, are they on optimization or yeah, I think I know what your question is. I'll answer that in just a minute. It requires that I'll give you a full answer. It's gonna be amazing. It's gonna be amazing. It'll blow your socks off. So just keep hold of them, maybe take them down if you wish. Right, so we're going to do is like a mesh. Yeah, so basically what this code does here, is it typically when you do a compute shader, you do 8x8 local, right? So it's just an 8x8 tile on the screen. But when you dispatch it, when you say, GPU dispatch my compute shader something, right? You would basically say divide roundup the number of the dimensions dot x, divide it by 8, and then obviously you div round up your y as well, right? So you're launching that many groups to fulfill the whole image. Now the problem is if you did it like this and just use the standard, it was like, I don't know, GL. I don't even know what it is. Maybe invocation. Well, there's a certain built-in where it's like your thread index, but it's like the global thread index. I think it's called the global invocation ID. I think that's what it's called. Where you basically get the pixel position within all those groups basically tiled together. You would process stuff in a linear fashion. So I think if I get Milton out for a minute, you have like an 8x8. Well, let's not do an 8x8 because there's too many boxes to draw. Let's do a 4x4. So when you do it this way, you basically do it in row major. Your threads will be assigned in a row major order, right to left going down. Yeah. Now that is not good. So with this, so this if statement that you're asking about, you would need that if your image, say, didn't round up to a tile. So this is a 4 tile, but the tile in this one is like an 8x8. because these pixels that you're accessing out will go outside of the image, so you want to make sure you return early such that the final group of 4x4, right, or 8x8 in the case that we had, maybe the image that you're rendering to is something like that. So these ones you don't want to be active and therefore write into invalid memory. So that's the reason why you got the if statement there. This any and greater 2 thing is just a way to optimize it. So we're going to optimize it to make it such that the if statement I don't have to write and a separate path for the x and the y and then and it together basically. It does the same thing. It's not really an optimization, the if statement itself. But yeah, so the reason why we made it 64 here by 8, by 1, is because we're doing a Morton Swizzle approach. Now, AMD in some presentation, and I think in video in some presentation somewhere, they recommend that if you want to optimize your texture accesses and stores, your texture reads and writes basically, so any access, you want to make sure you want to make sure the threads within your wave, the threads within your local dispatch group, I think, is where are organized in a Morton swizzle. So they're in like a Morton Z curve. So they go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And they say it's like this, and obviously it will go down in that same Z pattern, right? Some more Z like that, then Z like that with the groups. And then obviously, because it's been a Z like that, it goes like anyway, you get the idea. It's a Morton. It's a tree of Zs. So that's the reason why we did this Morton swizzle thing. And with a 64 here, because this will basically do an 8x8 coordinate. But yeah, there's resources online for this. Crap. What did I do? Hey Raf, welcome, welcome. Oh. Okay, so right, the color we can poke it in here. So now it's going to do this sort of barycentric thing. I don't know if it's already kind of barycentric, maybe. I don't really understand the code as I copied it from the other thing, but it looks very... It might be one of those 2D barycentric things. Anyway, let's get some code. Now, how do we compute that? That's the question. Yeah, awesome. Getting a bit dark in here now. Maybe I'll get the blind down. I can see the green screen coming through. Yeah, maybe we can whack exposure in today. I think we've still got time. Because we're nearly done with this color stuff, but it might just be manual exposure. Just turn it down a bit. Cool. Lovely. Right, so let's ask the AI about how we can barycentric stuff. What are we trying to figure out? We're trying to basically say like, do we want to go from like 3D position to 2D position to barycentric, or what are we trying to do? What is this loop? So the loop does, how far is it along n? So the number of steps along a triangle basically, isn't it? So it's, yeah, it's getting some, yeah, it's probably going to cross two different edges. I imagine it's doing some sort of like, yeah, it's probably mapping from like two edges of a triangle, I imagine, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, remember we played around with it. Let's play around with it here. So if we take one from this loop, yeah, it doesn't finish off that side. Whereas we take one from this side, it does the other one. So I wonder what happens if we, okay. Yeah, so it's doing it from like bottom right hand side kind of thing. Maybe. No, maybe not. It's doing it from this one here, maybe. And then going out. I don't know though. No, but if I take, oh yeah, okay, it's doing it from the bottom left, right? Okay. So what can we know about this then? So these numbers will be going from the bottom left hand side, which could be known as blue. So yeah. I think the easiest thing would just be take the XY coordinates, right, and turn them into a barycentric coordinate. And they kind of went from 0 to 1 anyway. Yeah, they did before I scaled it, I think it was. So yeah, I think I've got an idea. Let's get the numbers ready. So what we'd want to do is basically say, right, times equal 20. And then use the numbers before. So when we look at these numbers before, it's like let's look at the y, for instance. And let's see sort of what the maximum y value ends up being. And maybe let's look at the maximum x value as well. Actually, let's just call it p and then do both, yeah? So we want to look at like, what is the maximum x and y? Oh, crap. Let's give that a go. Well, we messed that right up. Oh, the times 20 is still there. Hey, Imploder, welcome back. Welcome back, sir. How are you? So what made me settle in DCI-P3 is that we're doing HDR rendering. So HDR displays support, uh, the ones that most people have support DCI-P3. So we should try and make our content all use DCI-P3 such that when we put it out to the display, we get the wider color gamut. And leverage that rather than just a wider brightness perception. And so the plan is even from the material inputs that make the materials and that are used on meshes, that's all done in the extended color or the wider color gamut, right? That's the plan. That's the idea. But obviously when you use when you output to the display, it wants in Rec 2020, which is an even wider color gamut, but they don't even support that unless you've got like a really expensive monitor, which is used for professional like movie editing stuff or whatever, right? So it seems like 0.75 is that sort of like maximum number. Um, Although we don't really get to that number on the Y. So that one is about 0.65 seems to be the max. No, it can't be because there's like one triangle, right? So where's the 7.5 on the Y? Where are you? Where are you? I need to find you. There must be one. Why is there many 0 minus 6 and top? Something is fishy. In comparison to Rec 2020, well, there's no point using Rec 2020 because I can't even see what the colors are. So if I were to use Rec 2020, so I'm talking about like when for my whole scene, it's going to be rendered in P3 rather than Rec 2020 because Rec 2020 is such a wide color gamut. I can't even select the colors on my monitor without buying an expensive monitor. So since everyone's displays are basically P3 supported, so they fully support P3, we're going to target that because that's the practical one. And we'll get less color banding problems, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about that though. It's a waste of precision in the color targets if we just use Rec 2020 everywhere. That's the basic idea. If I understand correctly, using P3, D65 white point, yeah, I think it's that one. To exactly, yeah. So I'm not sure what other games do, but I imagine quite a lot still are in Rec 709. Then they transform from 709 to Rec 2020 when they send it out to the display. But then, or maybe they might tone map in Rec 2020. But there's not the lighting and the material shading is not done in Rec 2020 sometimes, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I can't find. Okay, so we got ways to figure this out, right? So we want to convert. How do we convert? Snorm. Isn't it Cartesian? Is that how you say it? That's the one, isn't it? Yeah. Cartesian space to very centric. So we want to do like a 2D. That's what I want. Maybe I'm not thinking barycentric then. What am I thinking about? I got that wrong. I want that sort of. I think it's a Vec3, isn't it? No, I just want P. What's P? Around the triangle. I guess that's kind of it. I think we could take. Yeah, so I think that's just defining your. So P would be a point in the triangle, and these would be your vertices of the triangle. Calculates 3 vectors from the first vertex. Yeah, okay, we'll just grab this and... Oh, we all kind of want it in C, don't we? Oh, we can sort that out, I think. Too hard. Right, let's just jam this in, it's only temporary. Yeah, no, I used the GT term mapper, that's right, yeah. Yeah, that's right, I used the GT7 one. It's pretty cool. It's because it supports SDR and HDR. So it's quite handy to have what term mapper does both. Yeah, they've yep. Yeah, exactly. SDR's the arc exactly. That's some promised land thinking there, brother. Yeah, good times. Because people would just use ACES because there's an easy, consistent HDR and SDR one. But ACES has some problems. It doesn't really look that nice. It ruins the scene. Right, let's just jam this in here. Yeah. So we want to try and get some vector 3 back up, basically. So we'll just call this V, I guess. Now, what do we do here? So we want to define the 3 edges. So I think the edges are like 7, 5. So edge 1 would be minus 7, 5. They asked it for Snorm, but the AI gave me something different. So we'll just live with it. And down would be 6, was it 6, 4, 9, 5? So I think we can just live with that. Right. Now, the bottom right edge, B, will just be a positive version. Now the C edge, which is the top one, is going to be 0 on the X, but positive that, yeah? So the position that we're passing in is going to be X and Y before they're scaled. And then, yeah, so I guess we'll make one of these. We'll just call it P. So X, Y. Then P, A, B, C. Now we've got ourselves a V. Now we've got ourselves a V. We can basically, so we can treat this as like RGB now. Right, now we've just got to convert it though into 10 bits. This 10-bit color thing. So, how are we going to do this? RGB 10 chan set, I think. Good. So we're going to set into color. The channel is going to be RGB 10 chan R. And the value will be v.r divided by, now what so very centric, right? Which means one must be, yeah, we want to test this out. But you know what, before we set it, let's print out what we got. So we're going to print out FF. Hopefully one goes to 1.0. That's the plan. See what happens. I've implemented that in my renderer as a primary time mapper because of HDR. Yep. ACS also isn't dynamically adjustable, and the Academy still hasn't put out a dynamic version. What do you mean by dynamically adjustable? Maybe you answer it next. Which leads to the horror that is HDR output in Unreal. They have ACS for 1,000 nits. Oh, right. And ACS for 2,000 nits, but nothing in between. Right, I see. So right. I see. Right, you're the person I need to talk to then, because I just configured that to 1,000. So I have a question. Can where do you get that number from? Do you get it from the Win32 API? Because you can query that stuff, can't you? Like the SDR brightness and that. You can't get it from Vulkan, can you? I think we're gonna have to grab that. Can we make rule of rows in Rose Engine? I'm not sure. Hey Gemini Rebirth, how you doing? Welcome, welcome. Where's rule of rows? My brain completely skip over that one. Let's Google. Is it a thing? Okay, it's a survival game. – 2006. Okay, so it's vaguely familiar type of game. Right, it's like a horror, is it? I don't know, maybe. Well, I'd just be able to make games in it. Controversial game. That's a very popular word these days, unfortunately. Everything is controversial. You say the sky is blue? Controversial. It's problematic to query because displays don't report a value or correct value. Oh, my machine's going crazy. This is why you have to implement a menu where the user can meet the mono brightness. Ah, gotcha. Right. When it is up in 405 nits per one display, you can do 1600 nits, right? Right. Fair play. Right, so what values did we get according to? Did we go up to 1? Yeah, we kind of went up to 1. Kind of. So can we search for 0.9? Yeah. Yeah, great. So it goes basically up to 1. So we can divide, sorry, multiply. Maths. Yeah, so basically we just multiply by whatever the max value is. So because it's 10 bits per channel, right, rather than standard 8, it's obviously going to be 1024. Yeah. So just do that. Now I think it's a macro, right? So you gotta be a that would have failed. Luckily I checked that. Could have got bitten in the butt by macros. Lovely. Now you do want to make sure you convert that to a like a UN. Now the alpha, I guess we won't really care about the alpha. We'll just ignore it. Maybe. No, we'll just set it all on. Although the alpha, yeah, the alpha will be fine because at the end it's R, G, and B. So R, G, and B. Then, so the alpha's 4 different values. So yeah. Well, I guess we just poke a 1 on there. It clears. Okay, let's see how that goes. Right, so now in the mesh, in the visibility buffer, yeah, maybe VB, yeah, let's look at the, good. So we want this, so in the shade, scene shade, so the visibility buffer shade, where we shade the triangle here. So an instance index and a triangle index. So what we can do is get the instance and all of its properties, and we should have poked in there the color, right? So we can say, now finally we can say instance color, sorry, dot color, and that should already, that's in a packed format. So we need a new function now which can unpack 1010.2. Is there a function to unpack? Is there 1010 RGB 10A2 in GLSL? Because sometimes there's built-ins. And finding the docs online is terrible with Google anyway. Right, but there's one you can just use, right? Did we multiply by the right number? I think it was. Yeah, I think we multiplied by the wrong number, but it's not the end of the world. But yeah, cool. Right, so we need that, a new lovely color function. You're working on Vulkan shaders and an API? Yeah. So we do the render is written in Vulkan. It's got a GPU layer, so that's basically just an abstraction on top of Vulkan just to make it ergonomic, if you will. So just easy ways to create textures and buffers and allocate memory and stuff like that, and dispatch stuff into a command buffer. And yeah, shaders as well. So it's got a graphics layer on top for the game engine, if you will. And I've got some built-in tools like an image viewer and a built-in profiler. So FA gets us this little profiler up here, so you can use the arrow keys to like navigate this basically. And then I've got F9, which gets me the built-in image viewer, so we can like look at textures and monkey around with some things and see at different points in history. So we rendered to this multiple times, we can click and see what it was at that point in the frame and see different MIP levels and stuff like this, right? Sometimes it does this for some reason, I don't know why. It could be a feature. I don't know. Anyway. So it's quite nice. I wonder why the see sky image. Yeah, the downsample would have to run to get that to work, I think. I don't know, anyway. Have to sort out. Or maybe the combo box window does something weird. Anyway. Yeah, what was the question? Yeah, I'm just working on Vulkan shaders and stuff. Yeah, that's right. The Vulkan based engine. So somewhere around here, probably just drop it in. So an unpack. RGB 10A2. Cool, so why does it say 3C? That feels a bit dodgy. What's going on there? 30. Surely it's just 3, you know? Oh, the AI made a mistake. It didn't really matter though, to be honest. It still would have worked. Who needs these, let's be honest. Normalize. Lovely. You know, I just want to make it all more compact. Nice. So we've got this lovely. So now inside the mesh, scene shade, we can now use that guy to unpack it. That should be a vector. Vector 4 actually. Yes, a vector 4 now. Color is still a vector 4. Cool. So we say that's in P3 color space, right? So do we need to do anything? We don't. That should be it. Wouldn't that be amazing? That should be a full. We need the instances to be passed into here, and that's probably going to be needed anyway. Okay. So read only on the instances, thank you so much. Scene shade. There's no overload apparently. Why it's complaining. Cannot convert. To a vector for a float. Wonder what the problem is there. So that's fine. That type there was just U32. Right, nothing special. Colors is a vector 4. That's what this output is, a vector 4. Oh, is it not saved? Oh, for crying out loud. Because I did that stash. Right, they're all red. Okay. So I'm working on a sound mixer, but got sidetracked. Cool. Sound mixer. So what does this work with? Is this in like a game engine or something, or is it for an actual just an audio editing tool? Render shading, and then we want so those very centric stuff. Right, so we kind of want to understand what color. So in hex, please, right? What's interesting is they all kind of show up red. But as you can clearly tell, they're not all red because red would just be the first 2 bits on here, wouldn't they? So but it seems like it monkeys with the alpha as well, which is not right. So it does a clear Chan. We could do initialize, that might be interesting. We could do the init function, that's right. The clear would be that shift left. Right, seems fine to me. We could try. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. Yeah. Right, maybe we'll just try the set function. RG beat. Let's try that out. Let's see what it prints out to this time. Yeah, I wonder here. So you got 2, 4, 6, 8. So why is that? Oh no! It was right the whole time because it's just the blue bits are missing. E's the higher bits, the higher 3 bits. So the alpha's just the higher 2 bits. Yeah, so it's all looking fine. It's just for some reason when we pick up in the shader, it's not really looking right for some reason. Yeah, so color gets passed in. So we can. Oh, that wasn't compiled. Oh no, it's fine. It's fine. So in scene shade, we can put in a debug print. So if is mouse at print me color, please. Right, so yeah, it's just all on red for some reason. So maybe it's the conversion function is being terrible. But if we look at the instance color, what's that? We can't tell it to print out in hex. But if they're not red, then if they're not all the same. Yes, they seem to be all the same for some reason. Very sketchy. So what about the instance index? They're all 0. That's a problem. So that means in the mesh visibility buffer, why is it all 0? That's the question. Hey, Trevor, welcome. Am I scripting in Vim? Well, this is a Helix. The text editor is Helix. I'm working on my own GPU accelerated version of Gaia. How do you pronounce it? What's that? Can you explain to me GPU? Can you explain GPU prog to me? Or GPU programming? Is that what you're saying? Right. So is it like an Unreal Engine thing? This one here. This one? See. There's like a terrain tool. Nice. So this is not GPU accelerated. Interesting. Right, so you can, yeah, fair play. Nice. Makes some lovely landscapes. Used by NASA to fake all their footage, no jokes. It's too much conspiracy theory. Yeah. Fair play. Used everywhere. Is the most part, but only costs $100 for an version. And large build sizes are locked behind even more expensive versions, of course. Drip pricing. Or probably not drip pricing. That's a different term. That's if they keep changing it as you go through the payment process. I wonder why this doesn't want to work. So I guess I can do it in the visibility render one here. Leave his mouse at. There's like a geofrag coordinate. Print. I've VB, right? I guess shift right 16. .xy. Oh. 0 and 7. So is there multiple multiple layers? Can't be. But 0 keeps being rendered on the same. It can't be. Oh no, sorry. It's not multiple layers. One of them is what it is in the right. Okay, so in the pixel shader or the fragment shader, it is output 41, but when we read it later on in the shade function, it's like, it's not 41. So why is that? Scene, shade. Oh, because I anded it before I shifted it. Copy paste error. That's why. No biggie. And voila. No. No. Oh. Why? Oh, it works now. Boom. Amazing. So, yeah, we should be able to darken out the sky. Lovely. Yep. Awesome. Awesome. So I think what we can debug quickly is like, right, if I hover over this color here, then convert it into like linear, does it go out of scope, right? You know what I mean? Like, does it go into negative numbers? And that would then prove it is the sort of DCI-P3, the correct DCI-P3 value kind of thing, I think. Right? So basically, when we do the scene shade, to prove that this is outputting a DCI-P3 value that we want, I guess we'll do it in post-processing maybe. Well, I think we'll do it here first. So we'll say, right, give me color, but transformed back into Rec 709 from P3. Like what value is that? Right, so we hover over it. Yes, we got negative numbers in the, yeah, so the red, right, the red channel is more red than 1.0, right? It's more like, imagine, and then the blue, the green and the blue are also in the negatives a bit. So that proves we're in outside of the standard RGB color space, right? Which is cool. And so that means on stream, it's, for me at least, it's going to look different to what I see here. Yeah, this red is more brighter, basically. It's a shame that it's clamped on stream, but there we go. That's life. That's cool. That proves that. So now we just do the same thing again, I guess. Is like, right, so when we go into post-processing, right, P3 from, right, okay, good. So let's do it again, right? This time we're doing it from post-process. Oh crap, this didn't want to and again, we've got a similar result. It's not the exact same value because it's been tone mapped, but it's basically the same value. Nice. Cool. So it goes outside the space. So we know that it is working. That's good. Awesome. Okay, that's very, very good. So there's, right, let's talk about the things we'll be doing over the next few days. So yeah, right. Just letting you guys know there is a Ko-Fi. Why am I sorting P3 again? Because I didn't want to sort it out. Oh, what was it? I didn't want to. Yeah, I wanted it just to stay in. Yeah, I didn't know whether we would lose Yeah, the reason why is this. X709. Sorry, post processing. So the reason why I go back out to P3 from Rec 2020 is because I'm storing it back into a texture, and I don't know if it's going to be a waste of precision. Like if I'm gonna lose some, like I would lose some precision now because I'm storing in a wider color gamut than I need, right? But then would that cause some problems actually after the tone map? Because the tone map might go into some. Yeah, it would actually, wouldn't it? It would cause problems. Because it might provide you values which go outside the P3 color space. Potentially. What do you think there, Implode? Yeah, there is no alternative, unfortunately, because we're going out to a we're going to render it into a UI. But yeah, it would be great if we, and I don't want to tone map my UI, so I just tone map the scene. Yeah, it's something to think about. Do we tone map? Yeah, because the tone map result gets rendered in onto the UI image. Yeah. Oh, you can put, right, so you'll leave a blank space, then render the UI on top. Yeah. That's the thing, is if you want to have a transparent render, but I don't think I want that. I don't know if I want any sort of renders other than the UI to happen. You know, the UI system does transparency, you're not, maybe. There might be a case in the future though, I'm not sure, it's true. But yeah, right, so just to let you guys know, this engine the code is available up on Ko-Fi, you know, for people who support the stream via membership. It's £5, sorry, £5, Great British pounds a month. You get access to the repo on your machine. Only runs on Windows 11. I think it's targeting 3060, you know, RTX 3060s and above, kind of that sort of vein of GPU. But yeah, there's more info about it on the membership. I won't go into too many details. But yeah, if you like the channel and want to support the stream and the stuff that we're building, yeah, I appreciate your support and thank you for everyone who's doing that. So what we're doing in the next few streams is the following. We are working on exposure. You notice our sky is a bit overexposed. We probably want to play around with that. We're also going to work on bloom. So we're going to use the tent filter bloom. So there's a physically based bloom, the one that's written about on Learn OpenGL. It's not the bloom, it's the physically based bloom, it's a different one. I've implemented this already. I'm just going to port the code over, get it in there, and we've got a lovely test scene now where we can make it emissive and have a play around with that. Then, so exposure and bloom, is that it really? Let's go and find the plan that we spoke about. But there's also a Discord as well if you want to come and hang out and chat in the meantime off stream and show me the stuff you guys are working on and things like this. So we've done the tone mapping, done this thing now. Here's my color picker, which we want to port when we're doing editor stuff. Bloom. Yeah, then material shading. So there's not really that much stuff left till we do material shading, which is going to be super cool and fun. So this will be like, you know, procedural materials. We'll just do some full screen, well, a bunch of little quads on the screen and, you know, do some different materials and do multiple layers of materials and procedurally done. So it'd be lots of fun, and we'll see how well it works. So I think next stream, which will be Sunday, so the schedule's down below on Twitch. Physically, photo. Right, I see what you mean. I know what you mean. The photometric units. I've seen that stuff. Yeah, I do understand what you mean. So it's like the like the Kadema, whatever it's called, per meter squared, that sort of stuff. There's a different sort of metric units. I've not got that. Yeah, nits. That's it, isn't it? Yeah, I know that's what people suggest using. There was that game. I think it was Detroit. Was it Detroit Become Human? Maybe was it that one? There was a game where they basically suggested switching to those units, wasn't it? And that's what people do these days. Yeah, perhaps we should switch. Perhaps we should use that. I think I was just using radiance and Wait, it wasn't luminance. Radiance and irradiance. Yeah, that's right. Just the radiometric units. Is that something you're doing? Moving Frostbite to PBRv3 is good read for that. Interesting. Yeah, have you got a link to that by any chance? I'd like to look at that. Because as part of the material shading, I will obviously be doing some of that stuff. Yeah, we probably want to get a directional light in at least. I don't know if there's anything else. Yeah, so Sunday, which would be at 6 p.m. GMT plus 0, so nice and easy to convert to your time zone. We'll be working on maybe some kind of, probably the bloom first, just get that in there, and then looking at exposure. So a manual sort of exposure, and then probably an auto exposure. We might not finish the exposure though, but at least the bloom will be finished. So maybe Tuesday we'll be doing auto exposure, and that's another stream at 7:30. And we could also stream on Thursday as well. So maybe by Thursday we'll be working on the material system. But yeah, this is what we're planned for now. So there'll be like a procedural material system sometime next week, just to test out the performance before we put meshes in, right? What sort of performance can we get if we do multiple layers of materials and stuff like this, procedurally done at game time and stuff like this? Lovely, lovely, lovely. Radiometric is a bit tricky without going full spectral to get the correct color out of it. Right, I see. Yeah. I'll look at it. I'll give it a search. Let me just pump it in here. So moving frostbite to PBR. Oh wow. Yeah, I'll look at that. Dark readers obviously having a good time. Cool. Thank you for that. I'll keep this one open. I'll maybe get some time to have a read. There's a lot of information. But fair play. Oh, so much information. But yeah, I can look at that. Thank you. All right. I'm off now, guys. Hope you have a good start to your weekend. Have a good weekend, and I'll see you towards the end of the weekend. Oh, it's an exposure as well. Neat. I'll look there. Thank you. All right. Catch you later. Bye bye.